Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm sitting in front of my new bookshelf today. Let's see if you can see the edge of it there. Yeah, you can almost see the entirety of it. That's okay. For today's video, I thought I would sit down and talk about my top favorite authors of all time. And I thought that this would be easy. And I thought, originally what I wanted to do, and I could still do this if you guys are interested, but originally what I wanted to do was mention my top 4 or 5, probably like 4-ish, 5, I don't know. Top 4 favorite authors and walk through everything that I own by them, everything that I've read by them, everything that I haven't read, and maybe what my favorite book was of each of their books that I have read. So that was the original plan, but then I sat down and I was writing down my list of favorite authors, and I realized there's so many people that I just couldn't leave out. So I have quite a few people on this list. And with that being said, with the list being so long, definitely some of these authors I feel slightly stronger about than others, but that's actually not fair. I totally actually take that back. It's not that I feel stronger about them. It's that different authors and different types of books provide different reading experiences. And I think every single type of reading experience you're looking for is necessary and valid and important. For example, you have some contemporary romance authors, which when you're in the mood for a contemporary romance book, nothing else is gonna do. You know what I mean? That's a specific type of flavor. And I definitely have favorites in that genre. Or if you're in the mood for something nostalgic, only something specific is gonna hit there. If you're in the mood for something philosophical and really artistically well-crafted and well-written, then those are gonna be a specific few authors, you know what I mean? So originally I was just going to do those authors, ones that I can look at their full body of work and think wow, I admire them as people. They are just great, amazing artists and humans, and they have a beautiful way of looking at the world, or at least a very interesting way of looking at the world, and they write it like masters. They are masters of their craft. They are really creating works of art that appeal and can resonate with so many different people in their own unique way. So I was originally just gonna do those authors, but I just couldn't, bro. I just couldn't leave out so many other things, because I feel like I think that it's super important to have many different kinds of reading experiences, again, for different moods, and all that stuff. And I think all those authors deserve to be appreciated for what they're doing. So I wrote down in my notebook, which I love this notebook, my favorite authors. And I was going to categorize them. I do have some honorable mentions. I do have my comfort nostalgia. I do have my modern, contemporary romance, and then my top tiers. So I guess I'll tell you what category they're in when they come up. But just to know I love all of them. Also, when I was going through my shelves, just reminding myself of the authors that I have on my shelves, there were so many people that I'm like, whoa, that's literally one of my favorite books of all time. But I feel like I can't mention it because I've only read one book by that author. I've only read that book by that author. And I feel like that's not enough to solidify them as a favorite author of all time. Now, I say that now, but there is one author on this list that's on the top tier list that surpassed that, even though I've only read one book by them. I just can tell, it would just be a crime not to mention this author, even though I've only read one book by them. And I just said it felt weird not mentioning some of my favorite books of all time, or authors that wrote some of my favorite books of all time, because I've only read one book by them. But sometimes your reading experiences are you're so blown away by the way that this author can write and the way that they are communicating the way they see the world. And sometimes you're just struck personally by a book. I feel like with the former, you can kind of tell, at least this is what I believe, but you can kind of tell oh, this author, I think I could freaking love anything that they wrote. I admire them as a writer, as opposed to it just being a personal experience, if that makes sense. Not saying they're all not valid, but anyway. So we'll start with my comfort and nostalgia author, which is a funny place to start. Nobody come at me, please nobody make fun of me, but that's going to be Sarah J. Maas. And this is just the top book that I had on my Sarah J. Maas stack. Over there I own and I have read every single book that she has written, except actually for Catwoman. She did like a Catwoman thing with like DC Comics, I think, like many years ago, but I owned it at one point and then I was like, I don't actually want to read it, so I didn't. But Sarah J. Maas is just my nostalgic author. I don't think that she's perfect by any means, and as I get older and read her newer releases, like, I see what people are saying. You know, her characters are very samey, and she writes the same kind of male characters, and her female characters actually are quite varied, but same kind of male characters. She lacks a lot of things in her writing, but I think that I don't care. Like, I just love her books so much, and I get so excited anytime a new one comes out. And I just remember when I started reading them. Like, I was in high school, I was a sophomore in high school, and I was reading Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in her Throne of Glass series, and I was just like blown away. Like, I loved it so much. It was the first time I ever read a book and felt truly addicted. Like, you have that addictive feeling where you get a book hangover and you're so bereft that freaking book is over, and you like have to wait to read the next one, and you're like, oh my god, like, thank God this is a series. The first time I experienced that, like, I wanted to live inside of that world. I wanted to be those characters, or at least like be friends with those characters. Like, that was so real to me, and whenever I felt bad, like, I would want to read her books. Like, it just felt like a whole world that I wanted to be in. So I couldn't create this list without mentioning Sarah J. Maas, and I don't have a favorite of books by her really, because they're all very similar. I love all of her books. Of course, A Court of Mist and Fury is super popular, the second book in the ACOTAR series. I loved ACOTAR. Crown of Midnight is the one I just mentioned. Like, it was the first time I really felt that addictive quality. I love Queen of Shadows, which is the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series. Tower of Dawn, which was like unexpected. Truly all of them, are so important to me. So yeah, I've been reading them on release day since Heir of Fire, which is the third book in the Throne of Glass series, which I think was like the third or fourth book she ever published. Like, I've been reading them on publication day, anticipating them, going out on the day to get them. Like, it's a thing, you know? So I love Sarah J. Maas, she's super nostalgic. And then for my contemporary romance section, because I just was looking at them and I'm like, I get so excited when they release new books. I can't not mention these authors, like, because I also get that, like, hyped. I'm so excited to be a reader and, like, go and get these new books when these authors publish a new book, and that's Abby Jimenez and Emily Henry. This is my favorite of all of the Emily Henry books that I've read. I've read all of her contemporary adult romance books. I know she has some young adults that she started with, but I've read all of her adult books. But Funny Stories, hands down my favorite. I just thought this was absolutely perfect and wonderful and delightful. It's in a small town. We're following our main female character, who's like a children's librarian in this small town. She's struggling a bit. She was gonna get married to this guy who had a best friend that was a girl, and then he was all like, no, she's just my friend. And then right before they were gonna get married, he's like, no, I'm actually like in love with my friend. And she's like, I knew it, but like, how dare you? And so then she ends up moving in with that woman's now ex-boyfriend, and then they become a thing. And I just love this book. I just think that it's wonderful. I really like Emily Henry. Again, I get so excited when she releases a new book. And then for Abby Jimenez, this is actually my only book of hers that I own physically, because I've read pretty much all of her books via audio, and I have truly loved all of Abby Jimenez's books. This is probably, funny enough, one of my least favorites, but we're not going to dwell on that. It has a cute cover though. I'm happy I own it. But my favorite of hers was definitely Yours Truly, which is super popular. But I just love her emotional representation in her books. Like she really, and especially in that book, really represented social anxiety and anxiety so well. And that is following two people who are doctors, like they work in a hospital, and they are dealing with their own family struggles, and then they come together and yada, yada, yada. Her books also have so much humor in them too. They're very emotional, but there's so much humor in Abby Jimenez's books, which I really love and appreciate. So those are like auto-buy authors. Like I'll always read their books. And then we move into my top tier section. Okay, which is kind of funny, but okay. I don't know why it's kind of funny, but here we are. We move into the top tier section, guys, and because this is my video, I'm allowed to do this. I discovered these two writers this year, and I haven't read too much from them. I've only read short stories by them, but it still counts. Chekhov and Flannery O'Connor. I'll link the video down below where I initially read these writers. It was in my reading stories, short stories recommended by Harold Bloom video. Let's start with Chekhov. I just remember sitting on the couch for like a few days and just like loving, like delving into these stories and just absolutely loving Chekhov's voice. I think that he seems like such a kind, wise, good human, and that really comes through in his stories. I feel like he understands the honest, truthful thrum that runs through like a vein in the world. Like he can see the truth, you know, and he just knows how to gracefully display it in his stories. Absolutely love Chekhov. And I read, actually probably my favorite thing by him, which I didn't pick up, which is so stupid, is a play. It's on my shelf over there. I'm not gonna go get it, but is a play called The Seagull. I love that. It's about a group of people, and we start with a guy trying to put on a play, basically, and each character has their own things and own wants in life, and things kind of go on and devolve from there. And it's about how, and I feel like something that Chekhov touches on a lot is like missed opportunity in people's lives and regrets and yeah, I guess missed opportunities and just existence. So I really love Chekhov. Really happy I discovered him this year. And also Flannery O'Connor. Like I am stunned. Like this is, oh my god, like I'm just so beyond stunned by Flannery O'Connor. It's not even funny. It's not even freaking funny. I cannot believe how talented this human is or was at writing. Holy shit, like holy cow. Each of these stories is so visceral and it feels so like they're so powerful and they're so unique. She is the Southern Gothic, if there ever was a Southern Gothic writer. Like it is she. It is her. This is it, you know? And I just think her stories are incredible. I've only read her short stories. I do have 2 of her novels that I bought because of this, but I mean, immediately upon entering her stories, like the first sentence, you're in it. Like I've never experienced that in a writer, like the way that I have experienced it with Flannery O'Connor. Like I'm telling you, 2-3 sentences, 1 sentence, you are in the story. You are in the story. You are captivated. You are there. It feels real. The characters are so unique. You know who that character is in 2 words. Like truly, she is just so skilled. It's insane. And she writes a lot about faith. I actually struggle. I'm not sure if it's Catholic faith or Christian faith, but I'm gonna say Christianity because that's just kind of the blanket statement. I grew up in a Catholic family, so I see everything kind of through that lens. But she writes about Christianity in the American South, again, Southern Gothic, in kind of like mid 20th century. It says on the back here, 1950 through 2008. So I guess like the end of the 20th century and mid 20th century. But everybody needs to read Flannery O'Connor. Like it's insane. Like they're creepy though. Like her stories are creepy. They're so creepy and horrific and just like, holy cow. Like I can't even believe that's the story. That's where it went. Oh my God. Like they're shocking and they're, oh, that's all. I gotta move on because there are a lot of authors. The next author that I have on my top tier list is Allie Smith. And this is definitely my favorite of the books that I've read by her, but I love pretty much all of her books. Not all of them, but pretty much all of them. Just specifically remember my experience reading this. I made somebody read it after I read it because I just thought it was so fantastic and interesting. And I think that this was the first author I discovered that had such a unique writing style. It's very stream of consciousness. I, again, think that she sees the world in a very interesting way, and that totally comes through in her writing. This book in particular is about a family of 4, 2 young kids, a boy and a girl, or I guess kind of like teenagers, I don't know, middle school age, a boy and a girl. Maybe they're younger than that, I don't remember. Maybe like 10 and 9. And then a mom and a dad, and they are in their house one day, or are they on vacation? They're in a house one day, and this girl who's like maybe 18, 19, walks in and starts living with them like their family, and her presence really shows all of the flaws that exist within that family. Like, it really highlights and magnifies kind of what's going on based off of their reactions to this girl and the way that they're observing her, and they like having her there, each for their own individual reason. I really love Allie Smith. I feel like I don't hear too many people talking about her, and I feel like she should be much, I mean, she's a very famous, popular author. Like, there are definitely groups of people that are like, Allie Smith, but I feel like she should be more popular on social media than I see. So like, maybe what I mean is among a younger crowd, people more my age and younger. I think that she's really writing about the here and now and modern day so well and so poignantly, and she's just such a master. Her most recent book that she came out with was Glyph, and this was kind of a retelling of, what is it, Brave New World, or 1984, I think Brave New World, and I thought that this was fantastic. I think that this is totally a must-read for our modern times, but yes, I just think more young people should be reading her, and this is my favorite of hers that I've read. Fantastic. And then we have kind of a funny entry. It's not, I guess it's not really funny, but I don't know, it's funny. I reread these books over the summer, and I just can't not mention this writer or orator or writer or whatever. That's Homer. Nobody make fun of me, but Homer, the Iliad. The Iliad. I will also link down below a video that I posted this summer where I'm talking about my thoughts on the Odyssey and the Iliad. It's mostly talking about the Iliad. I didn't say too much about the Odyssey, but I mean, these are some phenomenal books, guys. I don't know, I know people say you gotta read these, but like, I'm telling you too, you gotta read them. Like, especially the Iliad, like, in my opinion, absolutely everything about life and humanity and the world is in this book. And if you don't see it, read it again, because it's there. And I'm telling you, because I read this once when I was like 20 or 21, and I definitely liked it. I had opinions about things, and then I reread it, like I said, again this year as a 27-year-old. It's a completely different book. It is a completely different book. I can't even believe it. Like, rereading is so important. I'm starting to realize that now as I get older, because you really do become a different person as you go through life and have more lived experience and learn more about yourself and the way you react to things and people. And I think you just come to understand the nuances of character more. I just think that's natural with getting older. Like, you really do. Side note, if you were to go back and tell my teenage self this, that like, you know more as you get older, I would have laughed at you. Like, I was that annoying teenager, you know what I mean? But I really want to say, if you are a teenager, or not even a teenager, just like a young person, and I'm even telling myself this now because I'm a young person, but you know more as you get older. Like, take advice from your elders. And I'm not saying that age is the factor in wisdom, because it's not all the time, and I don't think that everybody's always understands things or is willing to admit their faults in themselves, or you don't always grow as you get older, but you do learn more as you get older. And I think that it's really important, bros, if you're listening to me and you're a young person, and I'm hearing this too, talk to your elders or talk to people older than you and just at least absorb what they're saying and kind of filter it and internalize it in a way that you think will work for you as an individual. But anyways, side note, I'm so glad I reread this. Like, my opinions on some characters changed so much. Like, they couldn't have even changed more, you know? Like, I can't even. I hated Hector the first time I read this so deeply and passionately. And the second time I read this, I actually am like, oh God, he's such an important character. I like him. Like, I see where he's coming from. I actually like this dude. So that's just one of the main points. But I love this. I love Achilles. I love this story. I love everything about it. So read the Iliad. The Odyssey's great too. Totally recommend that as well. I really could not pick one book from this writer. We have James Baldwin. These are the 3 books I've read by him. Giovanni's Room, If Beale Street Could Talk, and then this is his nonfiction, The Fire Next Time. If there was ever a more perfect writer, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Try to name them. Like, there are a few that could be on this level, but very few. Like, I just am stunned by this dude. Stunned. There's nothing wrong with these. They're like, if perfection existed, it would be his writing. Like, I'm not kidding. So James Baldwin can do no wrong in my eyes, at least in terms of his writing and his storytelling. If Beale Street Could Talk, I want to lean towards saying this is my favorite, but it's impossible to say, guys. It's impossible to say. This is about a young Black couple in America who, I forget what year it's set, but it's in the 20th century, and the young man is accused of a crime that it's not stated whether he committed or not, but it's heavily implied that he did not commit it. But again, that's, I guess, up to interpretation, but it's implied that he didn't. He goes to prison for this, or he goes to jail for this. And we have our female character, Tish, who they grew up together, they're in love, she becomes pregnant with his baby, and we follow their families too, and they're gonna end up getting married. Their families come together, his parents, her parents, and they're talking about how they can help Fonny, who's the guy in jail. And this is just such a beautiful display of family to me, like truly a fully well-rounded, encapsulating display of family, the good and the bad, but being dedicated to a person and what it means to pick somebody and have their life be your life and your life be their life. Like, yeah, have their life be your life. And I just think this is a beautiful book about family and loyalty, and I love it. And also just about race in America as well. It's very important. But, and the injustice of the justice system. So love that. Giovanni's Room, I mean, well and beyond one of the most painful books I've ever read in my life, but it's a must read. It's a must read about internalized homophobia, set in Paris during the 20th century. Very sad. One of the most beautiful books I've ever read. And then of course the nonfiction, The Fire Next Time. I think this is just a must read. You cannot go through life, especially if you live in America. Like, you have to read this. Like, you have to read this. And there was so much in this that I learned about James Baldwin as a person and his relationship with faith as well, and politics and history, but he's living the history at the time, and race in America. So important and so phenomenally written. No one can write like James Baldwin. And then we have, of course, my beloved George Eliot. This is my favorite book of all time, guys. This is my favorite book of all time. Stunning, stunning. It's so personal to me. I struggle to talk about it, but I read this for the first time when I was like 22, maybe 21, I think 22. And everything about this book was so perfect for me at the time that I read it. And I think, like the Iliad, this is something that could be reread and should be reread at every different stage of your life. Like, every 5 years, reread Middlemarch. Dorothea Brooke is my favorite character in all of literature. I resonated with Dorothea Brooke on a painful level when I read this. It was embarrassingly painful how much, well, not embarrassing, but I really resonated with her. I'm not saying I'm like her. I wish I were like her. Like, she's a great character and a great person. I can't claim that necessarily for myself, but I really resonated with a lot of things about her character. This follows a bunch of young people, primarily Dorothea Brooke, but a lot of young people in this fictional town called Middlemarch in England somewhere. It's following all these young people as they like are of marrying age. It's like a lot of really famous popular books at that time were of the marriage plot, but this is like the marriage plot in the beginning, but it's the point of it is that it goes well and far beyond that, and it shows youthful idealizations and expectations of life, but then like hit with the reality of actual life and how things don't always work out the way you think they're going to or the way you think that you want them to, but life just happens and we are living in it and we are reacting to it and we are a part of it. And there's also a lot about different political changes happening at the time this book is set, which is also an interesting layer, but I'm more so connected to the humanity aspect of it. But Middlemarch is just a must read. Like, when I say this book is so personal, it's so personal. Like, so George Eliot for sure. And then we have the author that I mentioned at the beginning is the author that I've only read one book from, but I couldn't not mention them. Toni Morrison. I need to read more of her books and I haven't yet because I'm intimidated. Like, I just know they're so much smarter than me and I'm like intimidated by them, but also I know that they'll just sweep you along and be some of the most beautiful things you've ever read. Like, I just know that after just reading Sula. And I've read a specific quote from this book so many times. I'm not gonna read it again, but it's on page 65. Read page 65 of this if you're gonna read anything. This is outstanding, and her writing is outstanding, beyond outstanding. The way this human crafts a sentence, again, like you can't, no one can do it like this. Like, what the heck? This is basically about, it's about a lot of people that are living in this small town called The Bottom, somewhere in America, but we follow these two young girls who grew up together as best friends, and as they get older, they kind of, their lives kind of go apart, and so we see each of their lives, we see the lives of a lot of people that live in this town, and it's just truly a phenomenal read. But Toni Morrison is a phenomenal writer. And then of course we have my beloved Virginia Woolf, and my favorite book by her for sure is Mrs. Dalloway. She's just a phenomenal writer. She's also stream of consciousness. That's what I'm saying about everyone. They're just phenomenal writers. But super stream of consciousness. I feel like you can really feel her depression, like her depressive personality as her as a person through all of her books. And I love that. I can relate to that actually. But I love that comes through in her writing. And she's just such a beautiful, masterful writer. And in this story specifically, we follow Clarissa Dalloway, who is, over the course of one day, as she's kind of preparing for a party that she's throwing, and we see the perspective of a few different characters throughout this story, and we slip into everybody's consciousness. Again, I just love her stream of consciousness writing, but I was really bowled over by her skill in this book, of the way that she could so seamlessly slip, that's hard to say, so seamlessly slip from one consciousness to the next. Battery died and I barely have any battery left in this one, so I gotta hurry up. I forgot what I was saying, but her skill of so effortlessly slipping from one consciousness to the next really stood out to me, and she, again, is just such a freaking phenomenal writer. Last but not least on this tier section of top tier, we have Kurt Vonnegut, and I just posted a video all about Kurt Vonnegut, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but for some reason I decided to pick Bluebeard to represent him today as my favorite book by him, but if you watch my previous video, it could be any of his books, truly. I love Kurt Vonnegut. He has so much heart and humor and warmth and wisdom, and also just like, he's upset with humanity and the way that the world has turned and with the bad sides of humanity, but because he sees so much beautiful potential in humanity and in humans and in life, and he's so funny and he's so warm and sarcastic and hilarious. I love Kurt Vonnegut. And Bluebeard is a book about this guy, Rabo Karabekian, but this guy who decides to spend the rest of his life as like a hermit at age 71 on his Long Island estate, and he hides a big secret in his potato shed. And this book is all about art and the value of art and who ascribes value to art and what that means. So love this. I do have some honorable mentions. I have an honorable mention section, but I have to hurry up because my battery's going to die. I couldn't not mention Leo Tolstoy. My favorite writing by him is A Confession, which is a nonfiction essay about depression and wanting to not be alive. Truly such an important, valuable, amazing, life-changing thing when I read it that I really needed to read. So I absolutely love a lot of books by Tolstoy. I love Anna Karenina specifically and this, but I couldn't mention him as a favorite because there are a lot of things about him that I don't love, and I don't love everything about his writing. That's just another way of saying what I just said. But War and Peace kind of bugs me a little bit, but of course I see its like grand value. I'm looking at it right now if you're wondering why I'm looking that way. But yeah, Tolstoy's an honorable mention. Hemingway is an honorable mention. I can't really say exactly why other than he just doesn't make top tier for me personally, but the book that I chose to represent him is A Farewell to Arms. It's just, I mean, I really like a lot of his books, but this is the one that's representing it. It's about this guy who is an ambulance driver during World War I think in like Italy or Spain or something, I don't know. And he meets this woman, has these life experiences, and then it's really fucking sad at the end. It's really freaking sad. But why I love Hemingway, one evening when I was laying in bed and I was reading one of his books, it was actually The Sun Also Rises. He knows how to write so much in one sentence, and it seems so deceptively simple, but he's saying so freaking much in one seemingly so basic and simple sentence. And I've never experienced an author to do that the way that Hemingway does it. And that's why he's so phenomenal and why he has to be honored here, at least as an honorable mention. Elena Ferrante is an honorable mention. My favorite by her is The Lost Daughter. This is translated from the Italian by Anne Goldstein, and this is about this woman who basically is on vacation in Italy, but she is Italian. But anyway, she's on vacation in Italy, she's sitting on the beach, and she's middle-aged, and she sees this family and this young mother in this family, and she's kind of thinking about her life as a woman and observing this other young woman and what it is to be a woman we're all in aging bodies, but to get older and to think about her life as a mother too. I really love this. Honorable mention, Clarice Lispector. I've talked about this book so much, but The Hour of the Star is my favorite by her. It's a short, like 80-page novella that was so dense. Like, it took me a week to read this. But this is about this young woman living in Brazil, I think. Yeah, living in Brazil, and she is living in squalor. She has nothing. She has nothing to her name, no money, but she's like the happiest person on planet Earth. And this guy who's around her age that just hates her and disdains her, because I think he doesn't understand like why she's so happy, and I think he's also a little bit envious of her happiness because he has these wants. Like, he just doesn't share her life philosophy, but people should, and I think this is such a beautiful book of wisdom. It's wisdom literature, hands down. But yes, so that's Clarice Lispector. I had to mention Madeline Miller because I love The Song of Achilles. Who doesn't love The Song of Achilles? Truly amazing. Truly amazing. It was so fun to be a modern reader having read this and then getting to read the Iliad. It was just fun. Okay, it was just fun for me. But The Song of Achilles is such a phenomenal read. I know so many people have read this and it made the rounds on TikTok. People love this. I love it. I love Circe by her as well. And I can't wait for her to release something new. They're just like really good reads. Like, they're really good, solid reads. Of course, we have Natalie Haynes. Well, I don't know why I say of course. We have Natalie Haynes as an honorable mention. And this is the only book I've read by her, but I just think that it was just so wonderful. And she just seems so smart and intelligent. She's a classicist. This is also a retelling of the Trojan War, but just from the perspective of all the different women. And you really get that cacophonous voice of all these different women in the story in each of their sections. And we hear from the muse who's being used by Homer to write this story. We just hear from all these women, and I think this is such powerful writing. And she's just so smart. You could tell she knows what she's talking about, and she's really mastered it. She's very good at it. So this is another good, solid read. She's a great writer. Can't wait to read more from her. And then other honorable mentions, we have Bukowski. I don't have him right here with me. I forgot to grab him, but oh no, I do. We have Bukowski. My favorite by him is his nonfiction. The captain is out to lunch and the sailors have taken over the ship. I just didn't grab it, sorry, but this is Post Office. This is a novel by him. I love Bukowski. He's another person that's just like bitter, but also so funny, but also so wise. And he's just like this grumpy old man that's living in America thinking about stuff, and I just love him. So yeah, that's Bukowski. And then last but not least, as an honorable mention, we have Sally Rooney, which again, I did not grab, but I have her books over there. And my favorite book by her, when I read Intermezzo, which was her most recent release, I think that's her best book, but I still think Normal People is just my favorite by her. I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that I did watch the BBC miniseries, which, why am I forgetting the names of those actors? I love them both. Daisy Edgar Jones and the guy who was just in Gladiator. That's gonna bother me when I'm editing this, but God, I love that guy. I know his name, I just can't think of it. Oh, that's so annoying. But yeah, Normal People, they acted in that television show flawlessly. Like, so I don't know how much of my impartiality to that one is because of the TV show, but love Sally Rooney. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Please let me know down below what some of your favorite authors of all time are, and maybe what your favorite book by them is. Let me know if you've read any of these writers, what you think of them. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.